The massive command ship floated in the dark void between stars. Its metal hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons that could destroy entire planets. Inside the ship's war room, Admiral Kexthan Vorth stood before a huge screen showing star maps. His forearms moved quickly across control panels as he studied the next target for conquest. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. They had taken 47 star systems and enslaved dozens of alien races. Their technology was far beyond anything most planets could imagine. Their armies had never lost a major battle. Admiral Vorth had personally led the conquest of 12 worlds, and he felt proud of his record. Today, his officers were discussing their next target. A small blue planet called Earth, located in a system with one yellow star. The planet looked perfect for colonization. It had water, good air, and a climate that would suit Zephyrian settlers. Best of all, the creatures living there seemed completely helpless. "Show me the intelligence report," Vorth commanded. His voice echoed through the metal chamber. A young officer activated the display. Images of Earth appeared on the screen. Cities with primitive buildings, roads filled with simple vehicles, and military forces using basic weapons. The humans on this planet had not even learned to travel between stars. They fought each other with crude missiles and bullets. "The humans have nuclear weapons," reported Commander Zexalar, "but they are old designs. Very simple. Their space program consists of a few satellites and a small station. They have sent tiny ships to their moon, but nothing more." Vorth studied the images with satisfaction. He had seen this pattern many times before. Primitive species always looked the same when his forces arrived. They would panic, surrender quickly, and accept their new role as subjects of the Empire. "How long until we can begin the invasion?" he asked. "The Third Fleet will be ready in 6 months, sir. 300 ships carrying 50,000 soldiers. The humans will not be able to resist for more than a few days." In the back of the room, Intelligence Officer Vexlar Thane raised one of his 4 hands. Thane was older than most of the other officers. He had studied many worlds before their conquest, and something about Earth troubled him. "Admiral, I must report some unusual findings," Thane said carefully. Vorth turned to look at him. The Admiral did not like delays or complications. "Speak, quickly." Thane stepped forward and activated his own data display. "Sir, our scouts have detected strange energy readings from Earth's moon. The signals do not match any technology the humans appear to possess. Also, there are gaps in their technological development that seem deliberate." The other officers laughed. Commander Zexalar shook his head. "You worry too much, Thane. Primitive species often have energy sources they do not understand. They probably found some old alien artifacts," but Thane continued. "There is more, sir. We intercepted human communications that suggest they know about quantum mechanics and dimensional physics. Yet they do not appear to use this knowledge in their technology. It is as if they are hiding their true capabilities." Admiral Vorth's eyes narrowed. He did not like officers who questioned his plans. "Are you suggesting that these primitive humans are somehow deceiving the mighty Zephyrian Empire?" "I am suggesting we proceed with caution, sir. Something about this world does not make sense. The humans may not be as helpless as they appear." Room fell silent. Several officers looked uncomfortable. No one wanted to be associated with suggestions that went against the Admiral's judgment. Vorth walked slowly toward Thane. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. "Officer Thane, in 3,000 years of expansion, no primitive species has ever successfully hidden advanced technology from our scouts. No backward planet has ever posed a real threat to Imperial forces. These humans have not even left their own star system." He gestured toward the images of Earth on the screen. "Look at them. They fight wars with chemical explosives. They burn fossil fuels for energy. They communicate with radio waves. These are not the actions of an advanced civilization." Thane tried once more. "But sir, the mathematical principles in their intercepted scientific papers suggest they understand concepts that took our own scientists centuries to develop, and the energy signatures from their moon facility remain unexplained. Enough." Vorth's voice boomed through the chamber. "I have conquered worlds with technology far superior to anything these humans possess. The Empire's victory is inevitable. Earth will fall within 72 hours of our arrival. He turned to address all the officers. Prepare the invasion fleet. Standard conquest protocol. Demand surrender. Destroy any resistance. Establish occupation forces. This world will provide excellent resources and another few billion slaves. For the Empire. The meeting ended, and the officers filed out to begin preparations. Only Thane remained, staring at the images of Earth on the screen. Something deep in his mind warned him that they were making a terrible mistake, but he could not convince his superiors to listen. Far away, on the surface of Earth, Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Banks of advanced computers surrounded her, their screens showing information that would have shocked any Zephyrian officer. The facility did not appear on any human government's official records. As far as the world knew, this place did not exist. Elena watched the data streaming across her monitors. Her sensors had detected the Zephyrian scout ships weeks ago. She knew exactly what they were and what they planned to do. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. She reached for a secure communication device and contacted Captain Jake Morrison at a similar facility on the other side of the planet. Jake, they took the bait. The Empire is planning to invade in 6 months. Morrison's voice came through clearly. Excellent. Are they buying our act? Completely. Their scouts see exactly what we want them to see. A primitive world with outdated technology and divided governments. They have no idea what we're really capable of. Elena looked at another screen showing the true state of human technology. Weapons that could bend space and time. Ships that traveled faster than light. Energy sources that drew power from other dimensions. Humanity had developed all of this in secret, while carefully maintaining the appearance of a backward civilization. Activate. Project Mousehole, she said. It's time to prepare the trap. Around the world, hidden facilities received the signal. Deep underground, beneath the ocean, and even inside the moon, humanity's true military forces began their final preparations. The Zephyrian Empire thought they were about to conquer a helpless world. They had no idea they were walking into the most carefully planned trap in galactic history. The warning had been ignored. Soon, the Empire would learn the terrible cost of underestimating humanity. General Ryan Brooks stood in the underground command center watching dozens of screens showing activity around the world. Each screen displayed what looked like normal human military operations. But Brooks knew the truth. Everything the Zephyrian scouts were seeing was carefully planned theater. On one screen, tanks rolled across a desert training ground. They looked powerful to human eyes, but Brooks knew they were deliberately outdated models. The real human military vehicles were hidden in quantum storage facilities that alien sensors could not detect. Another screen showed fighter jets practicing combat maneuvers. Again, these were old designs meant to fool the enemy scouts. Status report, Brooks commanded. Dr. Amanda Stone stepped forward with a tablet in her hands. She had been working without sleep for 3 days, coordinating the global deception. All surface military displays are operating normally, sir. The Zephyrians are seeing exactly what we want them to see. Primitive nuclear weapons, basic aircraft, and simple ground forces. Brooks nodded. The hardest part of their plan was not building advanced weapons. It was hiding them while maintaining the illusion of weakness. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. Every fake military exercise, every staged political conflict, every piece of outdated technology on display served the same purpose. What about the real preparations, he asked. Stone smiled. Dr. Chen reports that the dimensional weapons are 90% complete. The asteroid defense platforms are fully operational and invisible to their sensors. The moon base is ready to reveal itself on your command. Across the world, similar scenes played out in hidden facilities. President Catherine Wells sat in her office in Washington, preparing to record another speech about peaceful exploration and international cooperation. To the alien scouts monitoring human communications, she appeared to be the leader of just one nation among many. They had no idea that Earth's governments had been secretly unified for decades. In the Pacific Ocean, engineer Zara Blackwood supervised the final checks on an underwater weapons facility. The base was built inside an underwater mountain, completely hidden from orbital surveillance. Massive machines assembled weapons that used principles of physics the Zephyrian Empire had never discovered. "How long until the quantum torpedoes are ready?" Blackwood asked her team. 12 hours, ma'am," replied her chief engineer. "Once they're active, we can punch holes through any shield the Empire has ever built." Meanwhile, in space, the Zephyrian advance fleet continued their reconnaissance. Admiral Vorth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching reports stream in from his scout ships. Everything confirmed his expectations. Earth was divided into competing nations that spent their resources fighting each other instead of preparing for external threats. "Sir, we are detecting another conflict between the nations called Russia and Ukraine," reported a communications officer. "They are using chemical explosives and basic vehicles. Very primitive." Vorth studied the tactical displays. He saw human soldiers firing weapons that looked like toys compared to Zephyrian energy rifles. He watched aircraft that moved slowly and clumsily compared to Imperial fighters. Most importantly, he saw no evidence of space-based defenses or faster-than-light technology. "These humans cannot even cooperate with each other," he told his staff. "They waste their energy on petty territorial disputes. When we arrive, they will be too busy fighting among themselves to mount any real resistance." But Intelligence Officer Vexler Thane continued to find troubling details. He sat alone in his quarters, studying data that his superiors had dismissed. Human scientific journals contained mathematical equations that suggested deep understanding of quantum mechanics. Their internet communications included discussions of theoretical physics that were surprisingly advanced. Most disturbing were the energy readings from various locations on Earth. His sensors detected brief power spikes that matched no known human technology. When he tried to focus his instruments on these locations, the readings mysteriously disappeared. Thane prepared another report for Admiral Vorth, but he knew it would be ignored like the others. The Admiral had made up his mind, and nothing would change it. Back on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison coordinated with Commander Lisa Hart from their hidden facility beneath Nevada. The two officers watched feeds from Zephyrian scout ships, carefully monitoring what the aliens were observing. "They're focusing on our staged military exercises," Hart reported. "The fake tank battles in Europe are getting a lot of attention. They seem particularly interested in our nuclear submarine patrols." Morrison laughed. "If they only knew those submarines are carrying dimensional displacement warheads instead of simple nuclear missiles. One of those weapons could collapse their entire fleet into a pocket dimension." The deception required incredible coordination. Every human military unit had two roles: their obvious public mission and their secret real purpose. Soldiers who appeared to be training with conventional weapons were actually preparing to use technology that could manipulate space and time. Pilots who seemed to fly primitive aircraft were secretly qualified on ships that could travel faster than light. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Parker led one such unit. His men appeared to be a standard special operations team, but they were actually trained to operate weapons that drew energy from other dimensions. They practiced their missions in facilities that existed in folded space, invisible to any outside observer. "Remember," Parker told his team, "when the invasion begins, we let them think they're winning at first. Let them get comfortable. Let them believe their own propaganda about human weakness. Then we show them what we're really capable of, Doctor." Stone returned to her laboratory deep beneath the Colorado mountains. The facility contained humanity's most advanced research projects: weapons that could manipulate gravity, shields that bent light around them, and communication systems that operated outside normal space-time. She checked the progress on the final preparations. In 16 weeks, the Zephyrian invasion fleet would arrive. By then, every hidden facility would be ready. Every secret weapon would be charged and waiting. Every human soldier would know their role in the greatest military deception in history. The aliens expected to find a divided, primitive world. Instead, they would discover that humanity had been united in purpose for generations, working toward this single moment. They thought Earth was an easy target. They had no idea they were flying directly into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. Above ground, the world continued its elaborate performance. Nations argued in the United Nations about environmental policies while secretly coordinating their defense plans. Military forces conducted exercises with equipment that looked decades behind Zephyrian technology, while their real weapons remained hidden in quantum storage. The facade was perfect, and the trap was almost ready. The Zephyrian invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 massive warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and shield generators. Admiral Vorth stood on his command bridge, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. "Open a communication channel to the human governments," he ordered. This was standard procedure. Demand surrender first, then destroy any resistance. Most primitive worlds gave up immediately when they saw the size of an imperial fleet. The message went out across all human communication frequencies. Vorth's image appeared on television screens, radio broadcasts, and internet feeds around the world. His 4 arms spread wide as he delivered the ultimatum that had conquered 47 star systems. "Humans of Earth," his voice boomed, "you are now subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and your entire species will suffer before extinction. You have 1 hour to respond." On Earth, President Catherine Wells appeared on every news channel. Her face was pale with fear, her voice shaking as she spoke to the world. "My fellow humans, we face an enemy beyond our understanding. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. We cannot fight ships that travel between stars with our primitive weapons." She paused, tears in her eyes. "I am ordering all military forces to stand down. We must surrender to preserve human life. May God help us all." Admiral Vorth smiled with satisfaction. The humans were reacting exactly as expected: fear, panic, and immediate surrender. He had seen this pattern dozens of times before. Within hours, human leaders would be begging for mercy while his forces established control of the planet. "Begin the invasion," he commanded. "First wave to secure major population centers. Second wave to eliminate any remaining military resistance. Third wave to establish occupation zones." The Zephyrian fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected: human military units retreating. In chaos, civilian populations fleeing to underground shelters, and no sign of organized resistance. This would be the easiest conquest in Imperial history. But deep beneath the surface of Earth, Colonel Marcus Webb watched different screens in his hidden command center. These displays showed the real situation. Every retreating human soldier was moving to predetermined positions. Every fleeing civilian was heading to protected areas. Everything was going according to plan. "All units report ready," came the voice of Lieutenant Sarah Kim over the secure communication system. "The enemy fleet is exactly where we want them." Webb smiled grimly. "Dr. Chen, are the dimensional weapons charged?" "Fully charged and locked on target," replied Dr. Nicole Chen from her facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. "The Zephyrians have no idea what's about to hit them." The first surprise came when the Zephyrian fleet reached the asteroid belt. What looked like ordinary chunks of rock suddenly opened like mechanical flowers. Massive weapon platforms emerged from inside the asteroids, their surfaces bristling with energy cannons that glowed with strange blue light. "Sir," shouted a Zephyrian sensor operator, "the asteroids are artificial. They're weapons platforms." Admiral Vorth stared in shock as the hidden bases opened fire. Beams of energy that bent space itself struck his ships. Zephyrian shields, designed to stop any known weapon, collapsed instantly. The energy beams passed through the ship hulls like they were made of paper. "Impossible," Vorth screamed. "How do they have dimensional weapons?" But the surprises were just beginning. Earth's satellites, which had appeared to be simple communication devices, unfolded into complex battle platforms. Solar panels became energy collectors for weapons that fired concentrated starlight. Communication arrays transformed into targeting systems that could track ships moving faster than light. Captain Alex Turner launched from a hidden base inside what appeared to be Mount Rushmore. His fighter looked nothing like the primitive aircraft the Zephyrians had observed. It moved by bending space around itself, traveling distances instantly. Its weapons fired packets of compressed gravity that crushed enemy ships like tin cans. Phoenix. Squadron is airborne, Turner reported. Beginning attack runs on the primary fleet. Behind him, 200 similar fighters emerged from hidden bases around the world. They had been stored in folded space, invisible to any sensor. Now they swarmed toward the invasion fleet like angry insects. The moon itself began to change. What the Zephyrians had thought was a natural satellite revealed massive doors opening across its surface. Launch bays that had been hidden for decades released swarms of defensive drones. Energy weapons that drew power from Earth's magnetic field charged up and prepared to fire. Engineer Paul Martinez activated the solar system's hidden defensive grid from his control room on the moon's far side. All perimeter defenses are online. The trap is complete. Admiral Vorth watched his invasion fleet being torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist. His ships, designed to dominate primitive worlds, were helpless against technology that operated on principles his scientists didn't understand. Energy beams that ignored his shields, fighters that moved faster than his tracking systems, and defensive platforms that had been hidden in plain sight. "Retreat," he ordered desperately. "All ships retreat to safe distance." But there was nowhere to run. The humans had surrounded the entire solar system with hidden weapons. Every escape route was blocked by defensive platforms that emerged from what had looked like empty space. Dr. Chen activated her dimensional warfare systems from the ocean floor. Reality twisted around Zephyrian ships as they were pulled into pocket dimensions. Some vessels simply vanished from normal space. Others were stretched and compressed until their hulls collapsed. Colonel Webb coordinated the ground-based defenses as Zephyrian landing craft tried to reach Earth's surface. What had looked like forests and cities revealed themselves as massive military installations. Trees were actually camouflaged weapon turrets. Buildings opened to show missile launchers and energy cannons. The Zephyrian soldiers who reached the ground found themselves facing enemies who seemed to know their every move. Human forces appeared from nowhere, using personal shields that made them nearly invincible and weapons that could disrupt alien technology with a single shot. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Parker led his special operations team against a Zephyrian command unit. "Remember, we want prisoners," he told his men. "Someone needs to survive to tell the Empire what happened here." The battle lasted only 6 hours. When it ended, the mighty Zephyrian Third Fleet was scattered wreckage floating in space. Of 300 warships, only a handful escaped, their hulls damaged and their crews traumatized. Admiral Vorth sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. His primitive enemy had just destroyed the most powerful military force in the galaxy, using technology that made Imperial weapons look like toys. Intelligence Officer Vexillar Thane approached him carefully. "Sir, I believe we now understand what my reports were trying to warn us about." Vorth looked at him with haunted eyes. "They were never primitive, were they?" "No, sir. They were waiting for us." 3 days after the failed invasion, Fleet Admiral Jennifer Collins emerged from behind Jupiter with the Earth Defense Fleet. 150 human warships appeared from what the Zephyrians had thought was empty space. These vessels made the destroyed invasion fleet look like children's toys. Collins stood on the bridge of her flagship, the EDS Vengeance, watching the scattered remains of Admiral Vorth's once mighty armada. The few surviving Zephyrian ships limped through space, their hulls cracked and their crews broken. She felt no satisfaction in their defeat, only determination to finish what the Empire had started. "Open communications to all Zephyrian vessels," she ordered. "This is Fleet Admiral Collins of the Earth Defense Force. You invaded our system without provocation. You threatened to enslave our people. Now you will face the consequences." The message broadcast across space reached not only the surviving ships but also communication networks throughout the Zephyrian Empire. Dr. Charles Peterson had spent years breaking their encryption codes. Now his team controlled their entire communication system, sending Earth's message to every world under Imperial rule. "Citizens of the galaxy," Collins continued. "For 3,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire has told you they were invincible. Today you see the truth. Their fleet lies in ruins, destroyed by a species they called primitive. The age of Imperial dominance is over. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Millions watched the broadcast in stunned silence. The images showed their most powerful warships reduced to floating wreckage. The Third Fleet, which had conquered 12 star systems, had been annihilated by humans who weren't supposed to have space travel. Emperor Kalarthek sat on his crystal throne, his 4 hands trembling as he watched the reports. For 3 millennia, the Empire had never faced a serious defeat. Their military doctrine was based on overwhelming technological superiority. Now, a previously unknown species had shattered that foundation with a single battle. "How is this possible?" he demanded, from his military advisors. "Our scouts reported primitive weapons and divided governments." General Vexelar, the Emperor's chief military strategist, studied the tactical reports with growing horror. "Your Majesty, the humans were deceiving us from the beginning. They allowed us to see only what they wanted us to see. While we observed primitive surface forces, they were building advanced weapons in hidden facilities." Back in the solar system, Major Rebecca Foster led pursuit squadrons hunting down the fleeing Zephyrian ships. Her fighters moved through space like silver lightning, their dimensional drives allowing them to appear anywhere instantly. The few enemy vessels that tried to escape found themselves surrounded before they could jump to hyperspace. "Zephyrian vessel, this is Major Foster," she broadcast to a damaged cruiser trying to flee toward Mars. "Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and you will be destroyed." The alien ship's captain, faced with weapons that had already proven unstoppable, had no choice but to surrender. Human boarding parties secured the vessel and took its crew prisoner. But these were not ordinary prisoners of war. Earth needed witnesses to carry their message back to the Empire. Commander Tony Richards captained one of the boarding ships that approached Admiral Vorth's crippled flagship. The massive Zephyrian vessel drifted helplessly, its engines dead and its weapons offline. Richards had studied Imperial military doctrine for years, preparing for this moment. "Admiral Vorth," he said as human soldiers escorted the defeated commander to a holding area, "you are now a prisoner of the Earth Defense Force. Your invasion has failed. Your fleet is destroyed, and your empire's reputation lies in ruins." Vorth looked at the human officer with something close to fear. "What do you want from us?" "We want you to go home," Richards replied simply. "We want you to tell your emperor exactly what happened here. We want the entire galaxy to know that Earth is no longer hiding." Intelligence Director Maria Santos coordinated the psychological warfare campaign from her facility beneath New York. Her teams had spent decades studying Zephyrian culture, learning their fears and weaknesses. Now they used that knowledge to maximum effect. "Broadcast the battle footage to every Imperial world," she ordered. "Show them their invincible fleet being destroyed by weapons they don't understand. Make sure every enslaved species sees that the Empire can be defeated." The impact was immediate and devastating. On worlds that had been conquered centuries ago, subject populations began to whisper among themselves. If primitive humans could destroy an Imperial fleet, perhaps other species could fight back too. Resistance movements that had been dormant for generations began to stir. On the water world of Aquanos, enslaved amphibians watched the broadcasts and began planning their first uprising in 200 years. The mining colonies of the asteroid belt stopped their work and demanded freedom. Even on core Imperial worlds, citizens questioned their government's invincibility for the first time in living memory. Former Admiral Vorth sat in his cell aboard the EDS Vengeance, staring at the wall and trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. A human guard brought him food and water, treating the defeated enemy with surprising courtesy. "Why didn't you just destroy us all?" Vorth asked the guard. The young soldier thought for a moment. "Because that's what your empire would have done. We're not like you. We want to win the peace, not just the war." Fleet Admiral Collins received reports from across known space. The Empire's military was in chaos, with fleet commanders afraid to engage human forces and colonial governors losing control of their territories. The psychological impact of the defeat was spreading faster than any physical invasion could have managed. "Ma'am," reported her communications officer, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 Imperial colonies. They're asking for Earth's protection against Imperial retaliation." Collins nodded grimly. This was what they had planned for. But the reality was still overwhelming. Humanity had gone from hiding their existence to potentially governing half the galaxy in less than a week. Dr. Peterson's team intercepted desperate communications from the Imperial capital. The Emperor was calling emergency sessions, trying to decide whether to negotiate or escalate the conflict. Some advisors suggested using their most powerful weapons to glass Earth's surface. Others argued that humanity's demonstrated technology made such attacks impossible. The truth was becoming clear to Imperial leadership. They had encountered something completely outside their experience. A species that had planned their deception for decades, preparing not just militarily, but psychologically. For this moment, humanity had studied the Empire's weaknesses and exploited them perfectly. Major Foster's pursuit squadrons captured the last fleeing Zephyrian ships near Pluto. The survivors were treated well but kept under guard, while Earth's leaders decided their fate. Some would be returned to the Empire as messengers. Others would remain as insurance against retaliation. The tables had completely turned. The Empire that had dominated the galaxy for 3 millennia now faced rebellion on dozens of worlds and military collapse throughout their territory. Meanwhile, Earth revealed itself as a unified, technologically advanced civilization, ready to enforce a new galactic order. Collins looked out at the stars from her command bridge, knowing that everything was about to change. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, and now they had to prove they could build something better than what they had destroyed. 6 months after the failed invasion, Ambassador Helen Wright stepped off her shuttle onto the surface of Zephyria Prime, the former capital of the Galactic Empire. The massive crystal city that had once housed the rulers of 47 star systems now stood nearly empty. Most Imperial officials had fled to outer colonies when the rebellions began. Wright walked through the abandoned government buildings with her security team. Captain Linda Davis led a squad of human peacekeepers, their advanced armor gleaming in the alien sunlight. They passed empty throne rooms where emperors had once planned the conquest of entire worlds. It's hard to believe this place controlled half the galaxy just 6 months ago, Davis said quietly. Wright nodded as she studied the elaborate decorations that covered the walls. Everything here spoke of power, dominance, and the subjugation of other species. That's exactly why it had to end. In the former Imperial Council chamber, Wright met with the remaining Zephyrian leadership. Emperor Kalarthex sat at a simple table instead of his crystal throne. His once proud bearing was gone, replaced by the defeated posture of a ruler whose empire had crumbled around him. Ambassador Wright, he said formally, we are prepared to discuss terms. Wright opened a document tablet and placed it on the table. The terms are simple, Your Majesty. The empire will be dissolved. All conquered worlds will be granted immediate independence. Your military forces will be disbanded and your weapons surrendered to the new Galactic Democratic Union. The Emperor's 4 hands trembled slightly. And what of the Zephyrian people? Will you enslave us as we enslaved others? No, Wright replied firmly. Zephyria Prime will become a free world like all the others. Your people will have representation in the new galactic government, but you will never again have the power to conquer other species. Across the galaxy, General Stephen Clark supervised the transition of power on dozens of former Imperial worlds. His forces worked alongside newly liberated species to establish temporary governments, while each planet decided its own future. The process was complicated but peaceful. On Aquanos, the amphibian people had overthrown their imperial governors within days of seeing Earth's victory broadcast. They now worked with human advisors to rebuild their damaged ecosystem and establish democratic institutions. Their representative, a female named Salamar, would soon travel to the neutral world, chosen as the new galactic capital. The mining. Colonies in the Kepler system had declared independence and were already producing resources under fair labor agreements instead of slave conditions. Their human-designed mining equipment was more efficient than Imperial technology and treated workers as partners instead of property. Dr. Robert Kim led scientific exchange programs that shared Earth's advanced technology with liberated worlds. But the sharing went both directions. Humanity learned new principles of biology from the Aquanians, crystal technology from the silicon-based crystallids, and energy manipulation from the gas giant dwellers of Titan 7. The galaxy is full of brilliant minds, Kim reported to Earth's leadership. The Empire suppressed innovation for centuries. Now that freedom is spreading, we're seeing an explosion of new discoveries. On Earth, former Admiral Vorth sat in a comfortable room that served as both prison and diplomatic quarters. He had spent months talking with human scholars who wanted to understand Zephyrian psychology and history. The conversations had changed his view of everything he once believed. Dr. Elena Rodriguez often visited him to discuss the philosophical differences between Earth and the Empire. "Your people believed that strength meant dominating others," she said during one of their talks. "Humans learned that true strength comes from lifting others up." Vorth looked out the window at the mountains surrounding the facility. "My species spent 3,000 years conquering worlds, and it took you less than a year to undo everything we built. How did we become so blind?" "Because you stopped listening to voices like Vexlar Thanes," Rodriguez replied. "When success becomes too easy, people stop questioning their assumptions." The former admiral would soon return to Zephyria Prime as part of the prisoner exchange agreement, but he would carry with him new ideas about cooperation and mutual respect that might help his people adapt to their changed circumstances. Meanwhile, construction began on the new galactic capital at Haven Station, a massive space habitat built in the neutral territory between former Imperial and Free worlds. Representatives from 43 different species worked together to design a government that would prevent any single group from dominating the others. President Catherine Wells, now revealed as the leader of the United Earth government, addressed the First Galactic Democratic Assembly. "We gather here not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. Earth's goal was never to replace the Empire with human rule. We wanted to create something better." The assembly included former Imperial subjects, independent worlds that had escaped conquest, and even reformed Zephyrian colonies that chose democracy over autocracy. Each member world had an equal vote regardless of size or military power. Ambassador Wright presented Earth's final proposal to the assembly. "We suggest a simple principle for our new government. No world may impose its will on another by force. Conflicts will be resolved through negotiation, mediation, and if necessary, economic sanctions. Military force may only be used for defense." The proposal passed by an overwhelming majority. The new Galactic Democratic Union would maintain a small peacekeeping force led by Earth but controlled by the Assembly. Its primary mission would be protecting smaller worlds from aggressive neighbors. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to general, oversaw the integration of various species' military forces into the new peacekeeping fleet. Ships from dozens of ECO worlds worked together, sharing technology and techniques that had been forbidden under Imperial rule. The Empire believed that diversity made them weak, Morrison explained to his mixed species officer corps. "We know that diversity makes us stronger." As the first year of the new galactic order drew to a close, trade flourished between worlds that had been artificially separated for centuries. Art, music, literature, and scientific knowledge flowed freely through space lanes that had once carried only Imperial tribute ships. On Earth, the hidden facilities that had made victory possible were converted to peaceful purposes. The moon base became a research station studying faster-than-light travel. The underwater weapons factories were transformed into centers for ocean exploration and conservation. Dr. Amanda Stone stood in her former weapons laboratory, now redesigned as a center for dimensional physics research. "We spent decades preparing to fight," she told her team. "Now we can spend centuries learning to build." The galaxy had learned an important lesson about the danger of underestimating others, but more importantly, it had discovered the power of cooperation over conquest. The trap Earth had set for the Empire had freed not just humanity, but every species that dreamed of self-determination. Former intelligence officer Vexlar Thane, now working as a historical researcher, wrote the official record of the Empire's fall. His final words captured the transformation perfectly. "We thought Earth was weak because it was divided. We learned too late that true strength comes not from unity of conquest, but from unity of choice.